Hello, this is Randy with Excel for Freelancers, and thank you for joining us in the mini CRM application. In this week's training, we're going to create our very own CRM, Customer Relations Manager, complete with contacts, email management, reminders, and documents. It's going to be an amazing training from the ground up, so let's get started. All right, thanks so much for joining us today. We've got a really lot to cover today. I want to create a CRM application, and that means Customer Relations Manager. It is complete with full contacts, email manager, reminders, alerts, and an incredible home menu. I can't wait. It's going to be really a terrific training, and we're going to cover it almost from scratch. There's going to be a few things that we want to do from the beginning. Notice I have a few things just to help us move things along, but for the most part, we're going to create every part from scratch. At least all the code is going to be written, and we're going to do some formatting on screen. So it's going to be really great. I want to make sure that before we do get started that you have subscribed. I do create these videos each and every Tuesday for absolutely free, and of course they're complete with a free download. You can find the download in the links down in the description with either your email or Facebook Messenger. Just click the links, follow the steps, and we'll get you your workbook to you absolutely free. All I ask is just three things. If you could subscribe, that would really help us out. Click like on the video, and of course comment below. That's going to help us out. I respond to each and every comment. I always want to make sure that you get the best. We do create these videos absolutely free for you every week, and I'm really happy to do that. However, if you would like to support us, a great way to do that is with our mentorship program. In this program, I'm going to help you every step of the process from concept to cash, and how to put your Excel skills to work to create that passive income stream that you desire to reach your goals. So the mentorship program is a great way to do that. I take you every step in a weekly step video while I create an incredible accounting application. So I hope you'll join us there. Let's get to this training. We've got a lot to cover. I don't want to take too much time. The first thing I'm going to do is format. Let's just go ahead and give it a top row of format. In this one, what we're going to be doing is we're going to create a lot of sections, right? So multiple sections, 4 different sections, 5 if you count the actual home screen. So we're going to take that and we're going to go over a lot of rows. I'm going to give this just a basic fill effect. We'll go with the standard blue theme. I'm going to go from a medium blue to a light blue, and then all I'm going to do is just going to take the rest, go all the way down here, and then just highlight everything else in there, just the standard blue. That's enough for us to get started. We're not going to go too much in the concept. It's here just the colors basically. All right, so now that we've got everything colored, what I want to do is I want to create a home menu here. I want to give it, put some nice shapes so that the home menu is actually in the last, and then it's going to cover 1 through 4 sections, and I want that to be 4 sections. So let's give it a title. We're going to give it a title, and the reason I'm going to put this title in a shape because I want this shape as part of a group. So this title, we're going to call this mini CRM application. That's fine. And of course, I'm going to format that differently, so we don't need a fill on that. We'll just use whatever background fill is on there. And also, we don't need a border on that too, so no outline on that. I'm going to then go into the home and then center this and then bring this up to about 30. And then I'm going to choose our standard color, and then our font, which we'll probably choose for this, we'll go with an Arial rounded bold, and we'll call that bold. Okay, mini CRM application, that'll cover it. Now we're going to get some icons and some shapes in here. So what I would like to do is actually create some shapes that I want to put those icons on. So we're going to click Insert, and I want to create like 4 quadrants. So the best way to do that is probably with this tool here, quadrant. And so what I want to do is create a round shape. Let's say 2 inches by 2 inches, but then I only want a quadrant of it. I only want a quarter of that. So the best way to do that is just to reduce it. So let's go with the upper. Let's create that nicely like that. And then I want to just duplicate that. So I'm going to use Control D, and I'm going to duplicate that. And then I'm going to basically rotate it. I'm going to flip it horizontal like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of these, I'm holding down the control, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to flip these. So I'm going to rotate those, and I'm going to flip those vertical, just like that. Now that's what I want. So I want kind of like a mid pie, and I can line those up. So I'm going to line them to the left, and then align these to the left here. So I'm holding down the control, aligning them to the left. Now all I have to do is bring this up a little bit, holding down the control, and bring it up here. So basically what I want to do is I want to put an icon on each one of them, and then I want to put in probably even a larger box. So let's do another box, and I want to do a larger shape. This time we'll do a square shape because I want to put like a title in here, something nice. So something like about like that, perhaps about 2 inches. Let's say 2 inches, and then I want it bigger by 3.2, and then I'll line this up. So I want a nice big quadrant right here. And then we're going to move all those to the back and the circles up to the front. But this one I want to format, give it a nice format. So I'll use the outline as our standard color, which we're going to use this color. And then I'm going to use a shape fill. We'll use a gradient fill on this, something nice like this gradient. That should be sufficient. And then I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, Control D, Control D, actually 4 times. Right, total 4, so I want them all lined up. So I want these boxes, and these are all going to be in the background actually. So we're going to line them up here just like that, and then I'm going to hold down the Control and I'm going to move them all to the back. Send to back. Okay, that's what I want, and then we'll just align this better. Okay, so what I want to do is create these, and I'm going to put an icon in those. That looks pretty good. I'll fine tune it in a little bit. Okay. So what I want to do now is insert some icons, and then I'm going to bring these down here. So I'm going to hold my selection tool and I'm going to highlight all of these, and then we're going to bring them all down here. And then I'm just going to center that over here like this. So each one is going to be a clickable icon. So that's what I want, a clickable, so that we can get to each section automatically. So I've got some icons lined up that is going to help us. Let's just line the tops here so everything looks a little bit even. Okay, so let's insert some icons. We'll undo the selection tool and insert the icons. I'm going to insert some pictures, and I've got some pictures stored up here. There's actually some white icons we're going to use. So in fact, I'm going to probably select everything on here. I'm going to insert everything because at some point I'm going to need everything. Okay, so it's kind of a big mess, so let's just reset the sizes to something smaller for now so we can work with them. And I want to use the white icon, so I'm going to use this for the home. We're going to need that home button because that's going to go on the other screens. And then I'm going to use these two for documents here. It's like something like that. I want to use email here on the right. And then I want to use the contacts here in the upper left. That's going to be the first one. Also want to use reminders here. I want to set the reminders. Now these are a little bit small, so we'll increase them. Okay, so now just hold down on the Control on all of them, and then we'll set them a little bit bigger. So we'll do 0.5. Good, so that's pretty much it. Let's color these. Let's color all these a little bit darker blue, something a little bit so it stands out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the format, and I'm going to go into the shape fill, and I'm just going to give us something a little bit darker that it stands out like that. That looks good because the white will stand out better, and then we'll just line these up. That's fine. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to click on each one of these and have them go to a specific area. So we can do that. Let's just line these up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you get the idea here, somewhere in the middle. Okay, so I want to give these a name, and then I want to put the larger. So now I want to have a larger blue. It's just something here. And then I want to do the calendar here, so something nice and large so we can see it. So I have a really nice menu here. Okay, so these of course are going to be much larger, and we'll make these about probably 1 inch or something like that. So let's take a look at 1 inch. That looks just right. Okay, so now we've got a nice little menu quadrant that's going to tell us, but we do need some names on here. So let's go ahead and add some names in here. I'm going to call this contacts. I'm just typing in contacts. And then what I'll do is I'm going to format these, but I'm going to format all of them at the same. So I'm going to format those, and then I'm going to color that, and then increase the font like that, and then we do need those in capital letters. Okay, that looks good, and I'll make it bold, but I just want to do these in capital letters. So contacts. Okay. So, and then also I think the italicized would be nice. That's going to give us a really nice menu and allow the user to really look. Okay, so now all we have to do is name these, and I'm going to left justify these, which are already, and then the ones on the right are going to be right justified. So this one we're going to call, let's select out of there and select just one. We're going to call this documents, because I want to be able to add documents for those contacts. And then we're going to call this reminders and alerts. And then I'll right justify that as well. And I'll do the same thing here. Email management. Let me check my spelling because usually it's wrong. So hold down there, and then I'm going to right justify those. Email management, reminders and alerts, documents, and contacts. Usually I don't catch my spelling until after an hour, and then it's really embarrassing. Okay, so what I want to do basically is just to select on one of these and then go to the area. That's it. Now all we need is just an icon here. That's a nice icon here. Okay, good. So now we've got that. I'll add a shadow onto that so it looks a little bit. Picture effects, and then just add the basic shadow on here. And we can do the same thing with font so that it matches. So format, and that would be the header. and then text effects, and then shadow. And I'll put a shadow on that. Okay, so now we've got mini. Now we've got it. So what I want to do is now I want to group everything. Everything we just had here, I want to group. Let me just line it up so it looks perfect. This one needs to be lined up on the right, format on the line, and then right. Okay, so now we've got everything lined up really the way we want it, and we can now move ahead with the functionality of this. But the first thing I want to do is I want to group everything because we're going to have to hide it. And once we do group, one important step. So I've selected everything, and now what I want to do is I want to group it and then name it, and then the third step, home, we'll call this home group. And then again, for the third step, I want to go to properties, size and properties, go into the properties, it's off the screen here, move but don't size with cells. That's very important. Move but don't size cells because we want it to move but not size. Okay, everything else, I want to create a home button. I think that's important because when we're in another section, I want to create a button. So let's insert shapes, and I'm just going to create a square shape here, and then I'll have to move that to the back. And then what I want to do is just use this. And I'm going to bring this, it got created after, so we need to bring it forward, bring it to the front, and place this right on top. That's going to be our home button. So again, I'm going to run my selection here, center everything, center to the bottom and middle, group it, and we're going to call this home button. Home. This is the button that's going to be available on the other screens when we're in the contacts, and it's going to allow us to return to this section. Okay, so now we've named it home button. We're going to use everything else for that. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's zoom out a little bit, see what we have here. Good, that's just what I want. That's exactly what I want. That's home button. But let's bring these where we need them. Let's start to build out some of the sections so that we can see exactly what this is going to look like. All right, zoom down. What I want to do is I'm just going to bring these all the way over here. We don't need them on the left side, but I want to bring them. So I'm going to bring them at the beginning, and now we're going to start to build out our individual sections. So let's zoom back into the control, scrolling up. We're going to build out, the first thing I want to do is build out my contacts section. So I'm going to put it right here. Now what I want to do is I want to have the home here in each section. So each section is going to contain that home, and then we'll use that to get back to the main menu. So let's go ahead and create some of that right now. First thing I want to do is call this contacts. Give it a name. And notice some of it's already formatted. Notice it's already merged and centered. It just helps us move things a little bit quicker. My videos tend to be long, so I try to shorten them up as much as I can, but I still want to make sure you get you tons of value. So the first thing, what I want to use to do is select a contact. I want to have two ways. We're going to say two ways to select a contact. Oh, I already have a drop-down list here. That's cool. Oh, let me show you this. I've got a list of contacts here in the data. That's going to help us. It's a list of documents here. We're going to keep track of the data. A list of emails that are sent, and a list of reminders with a summary. So that's going to help us out. I already have some named ranges. Let's just go over them, just a few to help us move things along. Named ranges, this contact name. Now each named range is based on dynamic, and we're going to use offset. And what that means is that as I create the list grows, the named range grows. We can use offset. Each one's going to start out with the header row, and that's because when all the data is deleted, it's not going to return an error. Notice that it uses A3. Notice 3 is the header. And as long as we add one row, as long as we start one row below with this one here, that's fine. We can do that. No columns. No columns left or right. That's fine. We're going to use the existing column. And then we're going to count A. I want to know all of the contents of A, all the cells. So that's going to count us to let us know how many rows that this particular named range is going to contain. And of course, this also contains a header row, so we have to subtract 1. And then a single column. We only want a single column. So when we use the tab key to tab out, and we use the shift tab key to tab back in, you'll see the dancing ants around it. That lets us know that it's correct. Now I've done the same exact thing with documents, emails, and reminders. So basically emails here, all the same. Everything's pretty much the same. And then I have a reminder summary. This is going to go over, this is going to be a little summary to help us select reminders. So again, let's go back. So we understand that we're going to have all of these contacts, documents, emails, and reminders. They're all going to be centered on this area here. So the first thing we're going to do is build out the contacts. Then I'm going to move over to the right, and I'm going to build out the next one, which is going to be documents, then emails, and then reminders. So that's how it's going to work. So the first thing I want is a drop-down list. I've already got it here. That's a data validation based on the named range. So if we look at that, we see it's contact names. You could just write an equals. That's going to help us. And if we select over, we see it's the dynamic list of all the contact names. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to color this white. And then I'm going to do the same thing. What else do I want? I want the user to actually put in the contact name. With that contact, I want a contact name. And then I want the phone number, so we'll put the phone number here. Go 2 rows, I'm gonna skip a row and put in the email address. This might be a longer field, so I'll allow that to use it. And then basically I want notes. So the notes is gonna be this merge and center cell. As you can see, it's already merged and center, saving us a little bit of time. So is the email address. Phone number, this is gonna help us. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna format these cells. So we'll go into the format. And then I'm going to do a fill. We want a white fill. We want a border. I'm going to use this blue border color here. I'm going to wrap it all the way around, and then I'm going to, on the left side, I want a dotted line. That's going to denote the field. Then what I want to do is I want to hold down the control, select all of my labels, and then click each one of them. In this case, and I want to right click, format the cells. And in this case, I want to also do the same thing, border, give it the blue color. In this case, we can do this, this, and this, and then make sure the dotted line is on the right side here. That's it. That's all we need to do, except we've got to do this one here. Format the cells. Forgot that one. Okay, so we're good to go on that. Next up, all right, so now we've got the context. I want to create some buttons. So let's take a look. So let's insert some buttons. I'm going to insert some shapes here. I'm just going to use this angle. We're going to keep this as basic as possible because this has a lot of functionality. If I add too much, this video is going to take way too long, but I want to give you as many features as you can with, of course, getting in some brand new things. Save contact. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to right justify that because I want the icon on the right side. And a lot of you ask, where do I get my icons? I'm going to include a link down below, so if you like these icons, feel free. And then I'm going to format that, so don't worry about the icons. It's some really cool links. I'll give you that. So save. I'm going to use this checkbox to save right here. That's way too big, though. All right, so let's size these up a little bit. There, I'm going to format those, and we'll just go to 0.22. That should be sufficient. And I'm going to bring them to the top. Notice the buttons got created. So let's do this. Let's duplicate this button. We're going to use that for new contact. So I'm going to call that new contact. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring those. Notice these buttons got created second, these got created first. So you want to place these on the top. So format and then bring to the front. Bring to the front. That's going to place them on top. Not going to use delete right now, maybe a little bit later on. So save the contact and new contact are our two buttons here. So that's what I want to do. Now that's what I want to do. All I want to do is line those up. So I'm going to format those and line them up. That's it. That's all I need to do. And now what I want to do is I want to be able to select a contact with a list. How can we do that? So two ways. One, we select let's get out of this selection change. One, I want to select and have that contact load automatically. Two is I want to select from a list here and also have that. So how can we do that? Well, we can insert, and what I want to do is I want to insert a list box here. List box. So let's insert this list box right here. And I'm going to give it a name. So we're going to drop it down about right here. And I also want to give it a name. Let's call it contacts, obviously. Contacts. Good. So that's pretty much what I want. And we'll format this cells. And we're going to copy them over so we can format the others much quicker. So that's going to be easy. Give it a fill effects and then use pretty much the same theme. We're going to use this one. And then we'll use this one here. Okay, that's going to give us a nice little theme. And then I want to put a border around this and a border around this. So I'm going to select this all the way down, maybe not down to there, all the way down to here, and then here, and then here. Format those cells, again, with the same color border around it. It's going to give us a nice look here. So the border, and then we'll go into this border, and then give it an outline. That's going to be sufficient. Okay, so now we got it. So what I want to do is I want to populate this list box with all the contacts. And then what I want to do is I want to basically select on any contact in the list and have it show. So how do we do that? Well, we've already created a named range called contacts, right? If you remember here, formulas, name manager, notice we have contact names. That's the one we're going to use. So all we need to do is edit it, Control C, copy that, close that out, right click here, format control, and input range is going to be pasted in your contact names. And we also need a cell link. I've got a cell set up for it. It's going to be called selected contact, located in B3. This is going to be our hidden columns, A and B, and we're going to use that. So I'm going to use B3. So all I need to do is select in here, click B3. That's going to be okay. Notice as soon as we do that, it populates with the list. Now what I want to do is when I select it with a macro, it's going to load that. That's going to look really nice. Okay, it's going to be really easy, and we'll be able to scroll that list, so it's going to be really good. All right, so that's pretty much it as far as the context, as far as that. And then I want this home. This is going to allow us to return back to that home that we designed originally. So that's going to be just nice. Okay, so we've got context. The only other thing we want to do is we want to group this, right? When we're showing the other ones, or when we're showing the hub, we want all this to be hidden. So how do we do that? Well, the best thing to do is just simply hold the control, group them together, holding the control. Let's put this, line this up a little bit and reduce the size of that button, make it look nice. Okay, it looks pretty good. So all I want to do is highlight everything. I'm going to exclude the home because the home is going to be used for every single one. So I've highlighted everything, and now I'm just going to use my grouping tool here, group. So then what I'm going to do is just write it in. I'm going to call this contact group. Okay, great. So I'm going to pretty much do the same thing for everything else. So all I want to do now is pretty much copy this and paste it into the next one. So it's super simple at this point. And the next one that I want to create is the email. So let's do that. Copy that, make sure we're copied. Go over here, slide over here, and then maybe right around O, I'm going to paste everything in, paste it all in. Now all I need to do is just update it for that, update it for our email. So I'm going to type in emails here, emails. Okay, we're going to call this send email. In this case, send email. And then we'll add this, remove this icon, and we're going to call this new email. Okay, so the new email, the icon, everything stays the same, and that looks good. Okay, so now what we just need is the email icon. We can borrow that email. We have the email icon right here. I want to use the white one, so I'm going to copy this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just paste it in right here and paste it into the button here. Change that to our icon size, which is 0.22, and then bring it over here. Now we've got the send email. Now what do I want? So now basically I want to change this to send to, of course we're going to keep the context because we want to send it to whatever context. We'll change this to the email address, email. And this will be the subject. This will be the attachment. I want to add attachments. And this will be the messages. Since we're going to be taking documents and recording documents, I want to be able to send those documents really easy. How can I do that? If I've got a bunch of documents, I want to select on one of those documents and have them added. So how can I do that? Well, what I can do is use something like this, but for documents. So I'm going to Control D, duplicate that, and I'm going to bring it over here. And we're going to call this one, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it right here, and we're going to call this documents. Documents. Or select to attach. Let's put select to attach. Okay, that's probably better. So now we know, but of course, we got to change that. Now we have a named range already, of course. If we look in our formulas, name manager, it's called documents. So all we need to do is edit it, copy that, just easier than retyping it. And that way we know we've got it right. Right click here, format the comments. Again, change it, right? It was contact now. And now, of course, we don't want that. I've got one already, an area already here, selected document into the, let's see, in the emails, we've got selected attachment here in B13. That's what I want. Let's highlight all this, get rid of that and click B13. That's what I want, the selected attachments. Selected attachments, I want to know that. Okay, so we've got that, and we do need to update here. We need to update the contacts here because this is for email, right? So I want this for email. I want to see my email, so that's all. We don't want that. This is going to be recent emails, just so that way we get a nice idea of recent emails. So again, I've got it already. Formulas, name manager. If we look, emails, tab over, we see that's a recent email sent to. All we need to do is edit, of course, copy. We could retype that in, no problem. Do the same thing here. Right click, format control, change this to emails, and then change the cell link. And this one I've already set it up. If we look under emails, I know that we've got selected email in B14. It should be SEL. B14. So I'm going to select that and click OK. So that's our selected email. So now once we select it, we're going to see it's going to change. Of course, they're to the same person, but we see that it changes. This goes to 1. And if we change this to 1, it's also going to change to 1, the selected attachment. Now they're both 1. So we see whichever one, if we select the second one, it's going to show up. That's going to help us add it. Okay, great. So we've got emails, we've got recent emails, we've got the message, the attachments. What I want to do is I want to be able to select on the attachments and then have them load up into the email so we can easily send an email attachment. So we're going to bring this over, make it the same way. That's it. That's all we pretty much need to do as far as the design portion of the email section. Next up, why don't we let's put in our document details. So I'm going to put in documents. Again, I'm just going to copy this here. It's going to be pretty much the same. We can probably do this. Documents. And then we can move on over. We'll slide on over here. Let's say AA, and I'm going to paste it right in here. There we go. Now what I want to do is just change this word to documents. So this one we're going to call documents. Okay. And of course we're going to change. In this case, I want all the documents here. Again, so we're going to use that same name range. Format the control. This one's going to be called documents. We could have copied that. Documents. This one's in the documents section. So what that means is I want to select a document and have it show up. So we're going to look in our document select section here, all the way here, and we want the selected document. That's going to be B7. So let's select that. Click. That's just the cell that we've assigned, that we know that. Okay. So now we slide over here. Of course, we're going to use this. Now we see our documents are automatically updated. We'll just update, of course, the name. We're going to call this documents. That's fine. Documents. So now we've got that. All right, that's looking pretty good. And the reason it came up automatically is because we've merged and centered. It's included in this. Notice they're the same. That's why it came up automatically, if you saw that. Okay, so let's update the buttons. Obviously, it's not. I'm just going to be able to save a document and add a document. That's all I really want to do. So let's save document, and then add document. That's it. That's it. That's pretty much so. Add document. We'll increase the width of these buttons a little bit here, and then move it on over so we have it. We don't need the email icon. And then we're going to update it. We still need to group. We still need to update the group, right? We didn't update the group on the previous one, on the email, so we need to update that group. Save document. Okay, we're going to use our save icon. We've got that over here, right here. This is our save icon. All we need to do is go inside. Now, you don't want to duplicate it. If you duplicate it, it's going to stay in the same group. We don't want it. We want it outside the group. So we're going to use Control C. Then we're going to copy it over, and then down here, Control V. Now we've got it over here. Okay, so save document. That looks good. That's about what I want, right? We do need to update the group. It's already grouped, but it's not the kind of group that we want. Let's take a look here. So the first thing we want to do is let's get rid of this. I don't need this here. So we'll delete that, and then we'll update it. We'll just put it in our same theme, and we'll remove all the borders around it. We don't need that. And then no borders. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this document name. See how fast when you can copy and paste it, and then that'll be the document name. This will call this the contact. If you want to assign a specific document to a contact, we can have that here. That's going to be helpful. We'll have a drop down list of contacts there. And then the location, I need the file location, so we'll just call this location. And then of course we can put some document notes here. All right, I know these things are pre-formatted, a little bit easier. That way these trainings will not drag on forever, but you still get all the great content that I want to make sure you get. Of course, if you do like these workbooks, they're free, but if you want to download 150 of them, I've got them available for just $56. You can look at the links down below. That is going to help us out a lot. Lots of people are loving the 150 pack of workbook. And we're going to ungroup this. Let's ungroup it. We don't need the group right now. And then I'm going to regroup it once I get all these things lined up. I'm going to line these up in the center. That looks good. Everything else looks okay. We've got everything else. So let's go ahead we'll just run the selection around it, group them, and give it a name and call it document group. Okay, we're done. We need to do the same thing for email. So let's go back here, do the same thing. This includes more. So we're going to highlight everything here, group it, and call this email group. Last one we have. We're almost done now with this design, and then we'll just get into the programming. Can't wait to show you that. Now what do I want? I want the ability to add reminders. So how do we do that? Well, let's take a look. We'll just copy this the way we have it here. Get rid of the selection here, copy this, and then I'm going to go over and then just paste it into the reminders section, which we're going to use AO. We'll start out with that and then paste it right in here. Again, give it a name. We'll call this reminders. Already formatted. That's kind of helpful. And now we'd say, what kind of reminder? So this thing, I want a new reminder and I want a save reminder. So let's do new reminder. New reminder and save reminder. That's it, just those two things, just those two buttons. We're going to keep it simple. I know we could do a lot more with this. You guys say, well, we could do this and this and this. I can do a lot more, but you know, these videos are already at least an hour, and I love to do multi-parts, but you guys don't watch multi-parts, so I don't know how to do it. So if you watched part 2, part 3, I would make these much bigger applications, but I think you guys forget. All right, I'll make sure to include the links if I do multi-parts. Of course, let's get on. What else do I want with the reminders? Well, the first thing I want to give is a name. I want to give that reminder a name so we know what the reminder is. And I also want to know if there's a specific contact. That's important. We need to add data validation onto that. Then let's unmerge these. We're gonna need more cells than that. I'm gonna copy this, just then paste it over here. We're gonna call this time. I need to know the time. And then I need the date here. So we're gonna format this as date, and then we're gonna format the other one as time. So I'm gonna format these as time here. Okay, so we need that, and then on this case, we're gonna call this details, so we know. All right, so we have reminders. In this case, I want the full reminders. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger because I want to know the large reminder. In other words, in this reminder, we have it actually. So what do we have here? Formulas, name manager. What I want is reminder summary, and we're gonna go into that, but basically what I want is the summary of the reminder, which is gonna be the reminder, the name, the date, and the time all put together using a formula. So I've created a named range for that to make things go a little quicker. And I've called that reminder summary. So when we tab over to that using the tab key, we see the dancing ants around that summary. That reminder summary is what I want to see in that group. So that's all we need to do. So all we need to do is go back into our mini CRM here and then right click on here, format the control, and we're going to call this reminder summary. And I want to give that a specific cell link as well. So what cell link do we have? We have it down here, reminder selected reminder. I'm going to use this one right here, B17. That's going to be it. Click OK. So now when we slide over here, we see that we've got the reminder. So basically the idea is when I select on one of these, I want that reminder to show up here. So perfect. All right, so that's all. We can move these to the middle because I'm not going to use any other button. So I'm going to use these, bring these over here to the middle. That's fine, and then I'll just make sure they're aligned. So we have save reminder, we have new reminder, perfect, that's what I want. And let's make these, actually I think the buttons should be a little bit bold here. It's kind of hard to see, not too hard, but a little bit more clear if it's bold, right? I like that a little bit better, much more clear. I'm going to do that with all of them, just holding down the control inside the group, making it bold, and I'll do that with the remaining buttons too, because it's a little bit easier to see. Sometimes if we need more space, we'll use less. So select out of it, hold the control, select inside, holding the control, B for bold, that'll get us to it, and then we'll do the same thing with the context, selecting out of that other group, inside this group, inside this, holding the control on both of them, and then click the bold. Okay, so we're done with that. Now we're ready to write some macros. Now we've got everything. We've got reminders. The first thing I want to do is the ability to show and hide. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to only show one of these at a time. So when we click on this mini application, when we click contacts, we want contacts to show, email, reminders alert. That's what we're going to do. So let's get that done and show you exactly how we're going to do that. Inside the VBA, let's just double check reminders. We have save reminder, date, and time. It's just how we want it here. We need some icons. Let's add some icons in here. I've got more icons, but I want to add in these icons here. So I want to put this icon here. I'm going to hold down the control. Hold down the control. These are all the 3 icons. I want to put those in the title. So I'm going to bring them, just going to paste them somewhere in the middle here temporarily. And now email, I want to bring up here. It's a little bit too big. So I'm going to hold down the control, size them all accordingly. Format, I'm going to do about 0.5 on that. And then I'm just going to drag the email over here. We should have grouped these. So I got to regroup them. Contacts, but I'll show you a great way how to regroup them. Documents is going to go right here. Notice we reduced the screen. It makes it a lot easier. And you can get a kind of a context. Okay, so we do have to regroup these. Anytime you want to add something, you need to regroup, but I'll show you a quick way to do it. Zoom up using the control. All right, so we're going to select the group. We're going to copy the name. We're going to ungroup it. Then holding our control, we're going to click the icon. Then we're going to regroup it and paste the name back in. That's all. That's all we have to do. And we'll just deal with the other two real quick. So I want to make sure that those icons get in there. The icons is a nice touch. So copy the name, then ungroup it, and then hold the control, regroup it, and then paste the name. Okay, great. So we'll just do that with the other two. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get into the macros and show you exactly how that we can automate the displaying of each one of these and undisplaying, hiding And we're going to show you how to automate clicking on those with just a few macros. It's going to be really great. Okay, so we're going to copy this, ungroup it, click on that, regroup it, and then paste it in. Okay, so now we got email. Now the last one is the contacts. We'll put that nice icon there. Again, selecting on any button, the group here, copying it, ungrouping it, then clicking on selecting that, and then grouping it, and then pasting the name it. Okay, so now we've got all done. So now what we want to do is I want to write a macro that's going to allow us to hide and show these particular ones. So how do we do that? Let's get in that. So when I select context, I only want the context section to show, or email, and so on and so forth. So how do we do that? Let's get into the VBA, bring this up here. We'll get into the VBA, and I've created just some empty modules that's going to help us move it along a little bit further. So the first thing we want to do inside that is basically hide everything. So we want to do that. That's going to really help us out so that we can notice it. In fact, I'll bring this over. I can bring this over a little bit, bring it over here into AZ. That's going to help us so we can use the rest of these to hide them. All right, so let's get into the macros and see just how we did that. We're going to create something called the module we're going to use is called main menu. So what I want to do is, the first thing I want to do is I want to hide everything. That's the best way to do that, and we'll run that for each one. So for each time we're going to show the home or the contact, email, document, or reminder, we're going to hide everything. So with sheet 1, we're focused on that every time. So we're going to write in some dot shapes. First thing I want to do is I want to hide the contact group. Contact group, hiding everything means all the columns and all the shapes, so all the groups of shapes. So holding on parentheses, dot visible equals MSO false. I want to hide it. Okay, hide. And then what I want to do is basically this for every single one. So I'm going to copy this and then just change the names. I want it for emails, I want it for documents, reminders, the home group. That's it. That's enough. That's enough. So now all I need to do is just change the text in here, email, and then we're going to go with this document. We'll check the names, document, and of course we need one for the home. I even want to hide the home, and reminder, and let's take a look at that. So we want to hide 5 total, actually. That's correct, reminder. Okay, so we have contact group, we're hiding email group, document, and then of course we want to hide the columns. So dot range, the first column I want to hide is going to be D, right? I'm going to keep C open all the way through AZ. I want to hide all those. So hiding all those columns, we can do entire column dot hidden equals true. So that's going to hide everything. That's what I want. And then what we'll do is we'll show, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this macro inside each one of these. So the first thing we want to do inside each macro is hide that. Then we will show only what we need to show. So moving there, document and reminder. So I'm going to add this macro to each one of those and then write additional code inside that. So the first thing I want to do is check for bugs, hide it all. Let's just check reminders. I think it's an S, and then move it on. Okay, so it was an S. All right, so now we've hidden everything. So now that's exactly what I want to see, which is pretty much nothing. We don't need this. We're not going to be deleting anything today. Okay, so, but if you want to delete it, of course you can. So basically I want everything hidden. Now what I want to do is I only want to show one specific. Let's go ahead and show the home. The first thing I want to do is show, let's write code for the home. That's here. So what I want to do is show, first we want to hide everything, and then what I want to do, sheet 1 dot range, I want to unhide certain cells. AZ, we put it in AZ, so let's unhide AZ, column AZ, dot entire column dot hidden equals false. We want to show that. We also want to show the group, sheet 1 dot shapes, home group, That's the one we want to display, dot visible equals MSO true. I want to show that. So when I run that, that's what it's just going to do. So now let's look at it. So that's what I want. That's exactly what I want. I want to just show this at the bottom. We don't need the home. So now when I click on contacts or email management, I want to write the macros to show just those. So let's write that in. In fact, let's go ahead and unhide. We're going to unhide all the columns manually, at least for now. And so for the first thing we want to do for contacts, what do I want to do? I want to unhide C's automatically. I want to unhide D through perhaps somewhere around K. So let's do that inside. So the first thing, contact, we're going to hide all. So now in contacts, we can copy and paste this, and we can just make the updates. It's a lot faster. Contacts, so what columns we're going to do? D through L. That's the one I want to make visible. And then, of course, the home group, we're not going to focus on that. The contact group, that's the one I want to make visible. So let's take a look at that. Let's run that code here and then go back in and take a look. That's exactly what I want. So perfect. So now what we can do is basically repeat the process. So you understand we've hidden everything else. Notice everything else is hidden. I only want the contacts to show up. Okay, so now all we need to do is basically copy this and paste it and just make the updates. So we want to do the same thing for email, same thing for documents, and the same thing for reminder. But the only thing is we're going to update both the columns and we're going to update the shape. So this one, of course, is going to be called email. And then, of course, the columns for email, let's take a look at that. Well, the only way to know it for sure is just to unhide them. So we're going to unhide. Let's take a look right after here. L, right now, these columns are hidden, so we're going to unhide those. And on email, we want to basically unhide O through, I'm zoomed out too much, O through V or O through W, or somewhere around there. So let's do that. O through V, go inside the column. This email is going to change from O to V, okay, the entire column. And this, of course, email group. We can do the same thing for documents. Documents is, let's take a look at documents, slide over here. Documents is AA through AH. Give it a take. So we can do that. Documents is AA through AH. All right, now that we've got documents, so we need to update this document. Okay, perfect. And then, of course, reminders. The last one's going to be reminders. In that one, let's take a look to see what columns we want to unhide for that. Reminders is going to be AO through AV or AU. All right, perfect. So AO through AV, and then we want to put the reminder group. Change this to reminders. See how quick and easy it is when we can do copy and paste and everything's set up. I'm going to save our work and then go ahead. And now what I want to do is now I want to assign those macros to our button. Let's go ahead and run the macro for home because that's the one I want to display, and I want to assign the macros to that. So now I'm going to take this shape. Let's go this shape here. Control, hold this shape down and hold this shape. So these, all three of these shapes I want to assign to the macro for showing the context. So we're going to click assign macro and we're going to look under show contacts here. Show contact, that's the one on macro that I want. Click OK. Now what I want to do is do the same thing for email, holding down the control, clicking on the icons. I'm not clicking on the circle because that's a little bit larger of an app. You'll see, I'll show you that in a second. So show email, let's see, show email. Okay, the reason I didn't assign it to this, you see how big that is? It's going to overlap them. So if we assign a macro to that, could be might be kind of hard to get to because it's such a large shape and it's only using this. So we didn't assign that. All right, so reminders, let's hold down the control, right click, and the icon here. I want to assign the same macro to all three. Assign the macro, clicking reminders, so show reminder here. Okay, and then the last one is documents. We got two icons here, document here and here. Right click, assign the macro, and then go scrolling down, show document. Okay, and saving our work. Now let's test it out. Contacts, back to home. We need to assign this to our home, right? Because that's our home button. So right click, assign the macro, show home. Show home. Okay, nice. Okay, the only thing I have to do is I want to make sure email, good, that's good. Assign the macro to our home button here again. Clicking on both of those, holding down the control. Same thing, show home. Good. Okay, and then one thing what I really want to do, make sure we're always sizing properties. I don't want to size. I want to make sure, because every time we group it, we need to redo this. So keep that in mind. Move, but don't size ourselves. We'll do that with each one. So back to the home. Now documents. Again, let's do that. Holding down the control, selecting inside to the shape, right clicking, assign the macro, and then show home down here. Okay, good. And then also I'm going to right click, properties here, and then move but don't size with cells into the properties. Okay, nice. Okay, so we've got that back to the home. And the last one is reminders. We didn't assign that. Reminders, again with an S. Okay, I keep forgetting that. Okay, so that looks good. Now we got that. Now let's just do this one here and right click, assign macro, and then the home. All right, we're good. Now we got a really nice, now let's get this to work. So we've got the home, we've got the contacts, that looks nice. Email management, that looks good. Documents, perfect. Okay, great. So now let's start out with the context. Now it's a lot easier to work with because we only need to select one at a time. All right, we're going to move a little bit faster because we got a lot to cover. I want to get through this and show you exactly how to create this amazing application. So what we really want to do is when we have the context, I want to know what row this is on. How do I know what row? I know what row we're going to select, right? If we select one, right? But what about what row? There's two ways to load a contact, one here and one here. So how do we, when I change the contact here, I want that information to load here. When I select on a contact, I also want that information. So what I really need is two ways to do that. So I can use a match for that. So what I'm going to do is we know we've got a named range called contact names. So I'm going to match whatever's in G2. And then I'm going to add 3. Why am I adding 3? Well, if I take a look into the context, you see the first contact starts on row 4. So if my match returns 1, I really don't want 1, I want row 4. So I need to add 3 to do that. So in this application, we do that. And we're going to do that for documents as well. So I want to make sure we do that. Let's copy paste this. We've got some other contacts in here. And let's unhide it. I want to make sure to apply that same data validation to all the contacts. So we're going to unhide that. Temporarily, we're going to move over. We're going to click on this to contact. It's already applied there. Good. We're good. We go with that. Contact, we don't have one here, so we need to do that. And contact here. We need to hold down the control there. That's good enough for now. Data validation. And then we'll just put in the word list and then contact names equals contact names. That's it. That's all we have to do. Now we've got a list of contact names. Okay, we're good to go on that. So what I want to do is when I need to know the row in order to do the row, that's going to load it. When we click new contact, I want to clear everything out. We click save contact, I want to keep. We're going to keep this real simple because we've got a lot to cover. Let's do that. Inside our modules, we're going to go into our contact macros. Basically, we need a new contact, save a contact, load a contact, and select. Loading is going to happen when two things happen. When we click here, we want a contact to load. When I click change here, I want a contact to load. But when I click here, I want to assign this to a different macro, slightly different, because what I want to do is I want to know which one they've selected. I need to use whatever's in B3, right? B3 to determine which one they've selected. Okay, great. So let's get to work. Let's write some macros on that. They're going to be real quick, real easy. So the first thing I want to do is write new. When we have a new contact, what do I want to happen? Well, the first thing I've dimensioned contact column and contact row, keeping this very simple. We're going to use data mapping. And if you're not familiar with this, I've gone into it in detail. But basically, G4 is our contact name. I4 is our contact phone number. So when we look in our context, we've mapped that. G4 is our contact name. I4 is our phone number, G6 is our email, and G8 is our note. So all I need to do is loop through these when I'm saving them, loop through those ranges, look whatever is in those specific ranges, and place that whatever's in the next row or the existing row if it's an existing contact. That's all I have to do. So all I need to do is run a loop from 1 to 4, look here, place whatever's here, place it here, look here. So that's data mapping. I've gone over to the detail in theirs, but there's a lot to cover. So it's pretty simple. I've kept it pretty simple in this. That's all we have to do. It just allows us to write a lot less code, especially when we're dealing with a large amount of data. In this case, it's only a small data, but in other cases, we got a lot of data. Okay, so let's look at the context. First thing I want to do is put a new context. So let's focus on that macro. And all I really want to do is just write 2 lines of code with this. And the first thing I want to do is set B2 to true. That's going to let us know that it's a new contact. B2, false if it's existing, new if it's true. So let's write that down. Sheet1.range B2.value equals true. And let's write some notes, new contact. Okay, the next thing I want to clear some fields. So dot sheet1.range. And then in this case, we want to clear some fields. So G2 is going to be 1, G4, I want to clear out I4 because it's all going to be new. And I also want to do G6. Now this is a merge cell, G6. If we look at that, let's say we've got G4, I4, we've covered those. And now we want to cover the merge cell, email address, G4 all the way through I4. Make sure when you're clearing out, you include all of that, G4 all the way through I4 using a colon. We need to do the same thing for our notes. So that's going to be G8 through I13. G8 through I13. That's going to clear. Our merge cells have to have all the ranges. Dot clear contents. It's going to clear all the fields. We run that macro, check for issues. Everything looks good. That's what I want. Now what we're going to do is we're going to write a macro for save contact. So let's put in a new contact. So Tedders, like Fred, his brother. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and I cleared out. This was not right. Phone, we got to update that. Phone, we don't want to clear that out. So H obviously is not. So G6 through I4, G6 through I6, not 4. Okay, G6 through I6. Perfect. Okay, that's what I want. And now let's go to the email address. Let's call it ted@gmail, and then just test notes. Okay, that's fine for now for some sample data. So what I want to do is run the macro to save it. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing I need to do is determine if it's a new contact or if it's existing. And the best way to do that is to determine this. If this is blank, if our match is not returning anything in a selected contact, then we know it's going to be certainly new. So case because they didn't select. So when I select here, we're going to load it all up. So let's do that right now. Let's put that. Okay, we're going to focus on with sheet one, with sheet one. And I want to make sure that they've at least entered a name. So if dot range G4 dot value equals empty, then message box, please enter a contact name. Okay, exit sub. Nothing we can do without that. Exit sub. All right, so assuming that they have entered a contact name, we can move on. Now I need to determine if it's a brand new contact or not. And the best way to do that is with B4. If B4 is empty, B4 is the row. If that row is empty, we know it's a new contact. So if dot range B4 dot value equals empty, then we know it's a new contact. New contact. Else existing. Okay, so if it's a new contact, we need to get that row. Contact row is going to be equal to our contacts located in sheet 2. So how do we get that? We're going to use, notice I use auto hotkey for that. I did a video on that a few weeks ago. Sheet 2 is what we're focused on for contacts. The first available row would be XLR plus 1. That's going to get us our first row of our contacts. So we know the contacts, but what if it's existing? If it's existing, our contacts row is going to be located in B4. So contact row equals dot range B4. B4 is going to be that, our contact row. If it's existing, everything else is the same. Okay, we don't. Everything else, regardless if it's a new or existing. Now what we'll do is ready to run our loop, that loop that I showed you before. So we're going to focus on our contact column. For contact column equals 1, 2, 4. Next column. Close our loop. Next contact column. Okay, so now we're ready to write the data. So basically what I want to do now is I want to take whatever values are in this sheet and place them in sheet 2. So dot range, what is that range? What is the range? We know that range is located on sheet 2, right? Remember, it's on the row 1. That range that I'm looking for is going to be either here, 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 or here. So it's going to be in column 1, 2, 3, or 4, always in row 1. That's what we're going to be looping through. So the range is sheet 2 dot cells. We're using cells. The row is 1. The column is dynamic, so the contact column, and that's going to be equal dot value. So that is it, dot value. Okay, so that's where we're going to put it. But where are we putting it? We're putting it in sheet 2 dot cells, contact row, contact column dot value equals. So our contact row, contact column is going to equal whatever's in this range on sheet 1. Notice we didn't have to put sheet 1 up here because we've already defined it up here. That's going to save it. Okay, great. So that's it. Next contact column. So now all we have to do is mark B2 to false. Dot range B2 dot value equals false. Set contact new to false. Perfect. That's it. That's all we need to do to save it. All right. Let's go ahead and save our code. Save it. And then run it. Let's go ahead and run it. And now take a look. All right, it's added it up. We didn't have a phone number in here, but that's fine. No problem. But now it is already, let's take a look at that. Go back into our, so now it's been added to our list. Perfect. Let's add a phone number. No problem there. And what we're going to do is we're going to assign that macro to save contact, holding down the control, right-clicking. Let's hold it down. Right-clicking, sign the macro, contact save right here. Now we've saved it with a phone number. Perfect. Okay, and now that is also available here. Okay, great. So now what I want to do is I want to load it. When a user makes a change, I want to load all that information here. So how do we do that? Let's go ahead and do that right now. We'll write that macro here. That's going to be called contact load. It's much easier. All we really much need to do is kind of reverse this. So we're going to copy this And all we need to do is get the contact row here and reverse it. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we actually have a row. That row of that contact is going to be located right here into B4. We need that row, otherwise we can't. So if for some reason B4 is empty, we need to let the user know. So what we can do is actually paste this in here, paste this, copy this. Actually, we can do copy all of this. It's going to be easier, much faster. So right click here. We need to end with, we've got it here. That's good. With sheet 1, but this time it's not G4. We're focused on B4, right? We need that row. Then please select a contact. Probably select, because maybe they selected the wrong contact or something. Select a contact name. Okay, so that's good. And then exit the sub. So now what we can do is we know we can assign the row to B4. So we're going to copy that, go down here, contact row equals B4, contact row. Now we have the contact row, but it's not. Now notice this was sheet 2 is going to equal. We need to reverse that. This time we're going to put it on sheet 1. So we need to reverse this and then reverse this. Put this equals right in between. So now the range sheet 2 equals the sheet 1 range. Where are we going to find that range? On row 1. It's going to equal whatever's in the contact row, contact column. We're going to run through that loop. B2 is also false. That's it. So now when we load that, let's go ahead and load that, run it. Perfect. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to run this on this. Actually, I have that code already, so sorry about that. So when I run it, why does that work? Because I forgot to erase the code, but no worries. What is that code? G2 right here, because usually I erase the code and so I retype it with you, but it's okay, save a little time. This video is already enough. If a user makes a change on this change, what are they making a change to? G2. If they make a change on that, then we need to do something. Well, we need to make sure G2 contains a value. G2, they make a change, and G2 is not equal empty, then run the macro contact load. Very cool. Okay, I'll go over this in a minute. This is R2, so no worries. There's no code on selection change. That's how we do it. But we didn't do one more thing. What about when I select here? How do I get that contact load? That's a little bit better, a little bit easier. Let's do that right now. Let's write the code for that. Also in the contact macros, it's going to call that contact select. So what do I need to do when contact select? It's just going to be 2 lines of code. Sheet1.range G2.value equals, I'm sorry, just 1 line of code, equals, what is it we want to put in B2? What do I want to put in B2? All I need to do is determine, now we know that when we make a change to here, so all I need to do is figure out what name has been selected and place it right here. Because as soon as I make the change here, it's going to load up automatically. So how do we do that? Well, we notice the names are here. So 1, if I select 1, right, the first one here, 1, right, if this is 1, select a contact, this is 2, this is 1, then all I need to do is determine what the first value is, first starting here, A4 or A plus 3 plus whatever is in right here and select it. So that's just what we're going to do inside the code. So sheet1.range G2, that's our selection, dot value equals sheet2.range A and what? What is the value? The value of B3. So sheet1.range B3.value, in this case it's 1, but I don't want 1, I want 1 plus 3, right? So plus 3 dot value. So that's going to select it. So now all I need to do is take this macro right here and copy it and then assign it right here to this, right click, assign the macro, and then paste that right in here. Click OK. Now when I select a macro, it automatically changes. All right, and that's it. That's all we have to do. So now when we go out of here, let's go out down here, right click on this, hold the control, right click, format, assign the macro, find the macro, take a look, contact select, that's the one we just created, click OK. Now when we select it, it automatically loads. All right, great. I'm glad I got to show that to you. What else? Now we got to get back to, we want to do emails. Let's take a look at emails. That's going to be easy. I want to get in that email. How do we do that? All right, let's assign some macros to that. I've got some modules here. Let's take a look inside the emails. Email, we want to do new email, add attachment, send, and then load email. So that's going to be it. Let's write the end sub here. Okay, so that's all we have to do. Let's do new email. I want to create a new email. What that's going to do is basically clear all the fields. That's going to be real easy. So let's type in that. So focused on sheet1.range, we're just going to clear out some fields, and those are going to include, let's drop this down so we can see those fields. R2 through R4 through T4, including T4, T3, R6 through T6, and of course R8 through, let's say, T13. So that's with through, using the colon, T13. Those are the fields that I want to clear out, .clear contents. Okay, so what else do I want to do? I want to set this email to new, right? We're going to create a new email. I've got email fields. New email is located in B10, so I want to do that. Sheet 1.range B10 .value equals true. I'm just going to set it to new, and that's it. That's all I want to do. That's going to automatically run the new email. Attachments, of course, that's got to be, notice all when you see this R through T, R8 through T, that's going to be R, not T. Okay, so now we've got that covered. R. All right, so we've got them cleared out. I want to add in attachments, right? Well, I want to select those. I want to do that, and I want to send the email. So we're going to add attachments and send the email. How do we do that? Well, adding attachments, when I select here, I want to take whatever's attachments, and I want to put it right inside R6. So how do we do that? Do that with just a little bit of code. So sheet1.range R6.value equals sheet 4. The attachments are coming from sheet 4. Where do we want to get it? Documents. What I want to do is I want to put this location. It's going to be C, right? So if I select the first one in the list, it's going to be row 4. So that means I'm going to type in C plus whatever's in the number, plus whatever the selected number is, plus 3. What number is that? The selected attachment. Whatever's in B13 plus 3. That, in this case, if we select the first one, it's going to get a C4. So that's what I want to do, just like we did the other. So sheet 4 dot range C and sheet 1 dot, let's drop it down here so we can see both. Looking at B13 range B13 dot value plus 3. That's it. So now when I select this and assign that macro, let's take a look at that macro. We can do two things. We can just copy the macro here, or we can select it from the list. Control C, and then right click here, assign the macro, Control V, click OK. Now when I select the first one, it's going to attach it automatically. Okay, great. Well, let's just take a look on Write Justify to make sure we can see the actual documents being attached. Now we go to the thumb. Perfect. That's what we want. It rotates between that. It changes. Okay, great. Well, let's send this email now. I'll write some macros to send it. We'll bring this up, and we can just write it's going to dimension the Outlook app as an object. We're going to use late binding on here, and also want the Outlook email. So the Outlook email as an object. So it'll be really simple. Okay, we're going to set the Outlook object, Outlook app equal to create object, and in this case it's going to be Outlook dot application dot application, and then that's it. That's all I want to do. Create object Outlook application. Now what we want to do is we want to set the email. Set the Outlook email equals Outlook app dot create item. We're creating that email 0. That's going to create it. Okay, so now we're just going to focus on with that email. So with the Outlook email, what do we want to do? I want to send it to somebody. Who do we want to send it to? Dot to is going to be equal to located whatever is in, where's that email address? That email address is going to be located right inside R4. So R4 is going to add that in. So 2 equals sheet1.range R4. That's the email address. Dot value, email address. Okay, what else do we have? We have the subject dot subject. It's going to be equal to, in this case, right? It's going to be equal to, subject is located right here in T4. So we're just going to copy this, paste it down here, and then change that R to a T. That's going to get us our subject. What else? Well, of course, we're going to need Now what I want to know is if there's an attachment, but I want to make sure if there's a value in R6, then add the attachments, otherwise ignore it. So we're going to use an if then. If sheet1.range R6 dot value does not equal empty, only then with dot attachments dot add, we're going to add that attachment, and then what's that going to be equal? It's going to be equal to whatever's in sheet 1 R6. So we just have to copy that and then paste that right here. That's the one we're going to add. Okay, so we've got the attachments. What about the body of the email? Body is going to be equal to, we're going to locate that. That's going to be located right here into R8. So we just have to put in R8. So we're going to paste that in, change that to 8. That is going to be the body of the email. And then I want to display the email. I don't want to send it. So dot display. If you want to send it without displaying, use dot send to send without displaying. Okay, so you know that. That's it. That's all we need to do with the email. And then what I want to do is I want to set, once I've sent the email, I want to save that email. So I want to put that right here in the first available row. So we need that email row, that first available row. Emails, of course, in sheet 3. So let's get that first available row. So we're going to call this email row. I think we've defined it up here. Email row, I've defined it here, and email column, I've got those covered here, is going to be equal to, and that's going to be equal to sheet 3. We're focused on sheet 3. Sheet 3, A is fine, and then the first available row, so we want that +1. First available row. That's going to get us our first available row. All right, so once we have that, again, we can use, I've already, again, mapped them, same thing here. In this case, it's 1 through 5, so we just need to run it and map it again. So for email column equals 1 to 5, and we're going to close our loop. Next email column, same thing. In this case, sheet 3 we're focused on, dot cells, email row, comma, email column, dot value is equal to sheet 1 dot range. What is the range? It's located based on whatever's in sheet 3 dot cells row 1, that's the row, email column, that's the column, dot value, whatever's that, you know that value is here, R2, R4, R2, whatever that is, dot value. So that's going to place it, take whatever's in sheet 1 and place it inside sheet 3, just like that. Okay, so we've got that covered. That's it. That's all we have to do to save our email. So let's take a look at that, save our work, and then what we're going to do is we're going to assign that macro, go back in here, click on right click, and then assign the macro here. And then we're going to put that email send right here. That's the one I want. So let's write that down. Another thing that I want to do is once, which I've actually already done, once I add a contact, I want that email automatically to appear. How did I do that? That was the other thing you saw in that code. Remember that code? This was what that other thing that you saw. When a user makes a change to R2, what I want to do is I want to, if R2 is not empty and B12 value does not equal empty, what's in B12? B12 is going to also let us know the row of that contact, also based on a match, based on this one. So that's going to tell us the row of the email contact. So then when I change the name, notice that it changes. It's going to also change the email. So that way we can get it. So we're going to test subject and then test messages. So that way what it's going to do, it's going to basically locate the row. Now we know the row, right? The row, of course, is here, contact database row here. So when we know the row, then how do I get the email? I know the row. All I have to do is determine the email in column C here. So we can do that with this line of code. Then R4 is going to equal sheet 2 C and the row B12. That's all I have to do to just simply place that email right in R4. Now we're good to go. So now we've already assigned the macro. I'm just going to click send, and it's going to create an email automatically, just like that. We've got the attachments, we've got our test message. Perfect. Now we're good to go. So click no. Now we got new email. So let's click on here because we've already created that. Right click. Let's do that. Right click, assign macro, and click email new. Click OK, new email. Perfect. That's just what I want. Okay, great. But one more thing. When I click here, I want to load that email in here. If I want to see a last email, I want to load that here. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to show you right now. That's going to be relatively easy on email load. So that's the last macro we need to write here, email load. So the first thing, remember this particular one, let's right click here, format control, what I want to do is I want to call this emails, and we're going to select this. This is B14. We're focused on B14, the selected email. That's the one that I want. Okay, that's the one that I know. I need to know which email to load. This is going to be selected email. So if we're going to load email 1, it's going to come from email row 4. Okay. All right, so let's get into that. Write that, just a little bit of a code on that. So if sheet1.range B14 for any reason .value equals empty, then exit sub. We need to actually have a value in there. Okay, so first, let's go ahead and clear the contents out. I want to clear all those. We've already written it up here in new email, so I want to clear all the old ones out. Copy that so we can clear that. That's going to clear all the old email. Now we're ready to load the new one. So the email row, you know already, is located in equal sheet1.range B14.value plus 3. That's going to get us our row number 3. So that's going to get us our row number. Now we're ready to run our loop. That same loop is going to allow us to do that. It's this loop here, but reverse. So we're going to copy that loop, paste it down here, and then we're going to reverse it. It's actually going to focus on sheet 1 is going to bring the values from sheet 3. So all we need to do is reverse it here. That's it. That's all I need to do. And then, of course, I want to make sure that it's no longer a new email. I want to make sure B10 is false. So let's just write that. B10 value equals false. So let's copy this here, save some typing, scroll down here, equals false, and change that to B10 there. That's it. Okay, good. So now we're going to load. Now I'm going to take this macro right here, and I'm going to assign it to this one right here. I'm going to take a look at this, assign the macro, paste it in here. You could also select it here as well. Click OK. Now what I want to do is going to load this email. That's what I want to do. Different emails, although they're to the same person, but it looks there. Great. So now we're loading and sending emails very quickly. We can send to attachments. Okay, emails are done. What's next? We've got emails. Let's click on documents. I want to create some new documents. And in documents, all I pretty much want to do, again, is save the document and add a document or load a document. Pretty much the same. So why don't we go into there, take a look inside that macro. So we're going to go into the module, documents, and again, 3 macros. I'm going to run new document, save document, and load document. Okay, so let's write in the new document. I want to be able to browse for any new document. So we've already dimensioned the doc row, doc column is long, and the doc file is 5. That's going to help us move things a little bit faster. So we're going to set the document file equal to the application dot file dialog. That's the one we want. What kind of file dialog? MSO, I'm looking for a file picker because I want to pick the file. That's the one I want. First, let's clear out all the cells in there, fields in there, because we're adding a new document. So sheet 1.range. Now what cells I'm going to do in this case, we've got a lot AD4, AF4, again, all the way from AD6 through AF6, and then again AD8 all the way through AF13. So let's write that up. AD4, also AD4, also AF4, and now we do also have AD6 all the way through. It's a merge cell through AF6, and then another merge cell AD8 all the way through AF13. We're going to clear those contents. Clear contents. All right, so now that we've cleared the contents, we're ready to add in our new file. So we're going to focus on that doc file with doc file. What do I want to do with that? I want to give it a title. What is that title? It could be anything really. Select document. Okay, now we select the document. Okay, we're gonna add some filters to it. In this case, I just want to basically add any type of filter. So we can do add. In this case, we'll call it all files because we really want every type of file. And then comma, and then we're going to put in an asterisk, so that's a wildcard for any type of file. In that case, dot. So any type of file that contains a period pretty much is going to be fine. In that case, just one at a time. That's the position that I want. So with filters, if dot show for some reason does not equal -1, if there's any reason does not equal -1, then what do I want to do? Then go to no selection. That's going to skip everything. Selection. So this goes no selection, and then I'll drop it down here out and just create no. It's going to skip everything in case they don't select anything. Okay, but assuming that they do select something, what do I want to do? I want to place that file address somewhere. Sheet1.range. I want to put it in AD6 dot value equals what? Equals this dot selected items 1, just 1. That's it. Okay, what else do I want to do? I want to place the file name. I want to get the document name and I want to put that in AD4. So how do we do that? We can copy this, it'll be a little bit quicker. Sheet 1, AD4 in this case, is going to be equal to, in this case we're going to copy, actually it's going to be this directory of whatever's here. So we just put in the directory of whatever's here, that's fine. The directory, I've already copied that twice, of this. And so the directory is going to get us the file name of that. And we got to know it's a new document, so let's type that in, sheet1.range. In this case, our new document is going to be showing in B6. B6 is going to be new document. B6, that's going to let us know that's got to be true. Value equals true, new document. We need to differentiate between new and existing documents. So that's going to help us out. B6 will do it. That's pretty much it. That's all we need to do for the document new. Let's save our work. Let's assign this macro document new to our button and our icon here. So add document, holding down the control, right clicking, assign the macro, paste that in, click OK. Add the document, debug that. It's going to say .all file. Got to put an asterisk on both sides in this case. Both sides, okay, got to have that. Okay, so it's going to open up the browser. We'll just put in this attachments, anything we want here, a little thumbnail will be fine. Date one more thing, not quite right. AD, remember we want the directory is AD4, so let's try that again, AD4. So add the document, try it in here, click OK, click OK. All right, good, that's what I want, the file name, and the AD4 is going to take the name and then the long file name. Perfect, so now we can add some test notes. We can add a contact to that, and then we're going to save it. So let's add a contact to that. Now what we'll do is we'll focus on the macro to save that. So scroll down here, document save. Let's move it on. We're focused on with sheet 1. With sheet 1. If I have a lot of code to write, I'll tend to use sheet 1. If I don't, I'll just won't use it. So that's kind of why it's different. Okay, if dot range, I need to make sure that if AD4 is empty, then making sure that we have a document name. I want to make sure we at least have that. So AD4 equals empty, then message box, please add in a document name. Want to make sure that we have that at least. Okay, exit sub, just in case they don't add a document name. Now we're ready to move on. So what I need to know is if it is an existing document or a new document. And if you remember, B6 is going to tell us just that. So if dot range B6 dot value equals true, then it's a new document, else existing, and if. Okay, so now we know it's true. What if it's a new document? Then I need to get it a row, new document. Then I need to assign it a row. So the document row is going to be equal to, where's our documents located on sheet 4, XLR, that's my shortcut there. Sheet 4 is going to help us. That'll get us the last row, but I don't want the last row. I want the first available row. +1 will do that. But what if it's an existing document? Else existing. In that case, I want to get the doc row is going to be where? We're going to use our match. In this case, our doc database row is located right here in B8. That is our match formula. It's going to match our name here. So B8 is going to tell us that. So let's put that in. Doc row equals dot range B8. That's going to get us our existing document row. Now that we have our document row, we're going to do the same thing, data mapping. Very, very simple. For doc column, we're focused on the column, equals, in this case, 1, 2, 4. Why is it 4? Because in our database, it has 4 items here. Name, contact, location, and notes. So those are the 4 items, and I'm going to loop. These are our map data. So I've already got it mapped out for us to make things a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and write that little bit of code. For doc column equals 1 to 4. Next, close our loop, doc column. And what are we going to do? In this case, we're saving it. So I'm putting it on sheet 4 dot cells, doc row, doc column, dot value equals what? Equals dot range, sheet 4 dot cells, row 1, document column, dot value. So basically what that's going to do is going to take whatever is in our documents and place it inside the database. Okay, Great. Now that we have that on, that's going to save all the information. All I need to do again is set our value to false. So we know B6 is going to go to false. So let's do that because it's no longer a new. Dot value equals false. False equals false. Okay. All right, so we've got that covered. I'm going to comment everything out. Okay, so document save we've got. Let's save our code. Again, let's assign that macro. Right click on both of those, holding on the control, assigning macro. Document save is the one we want. That's it. Click save. Variable not defined. Doc not okay. All right, good. Now our it's added now. Notice we had one more there. It's automatically added. Looking in our documents, it's now added here. One last macro. All I do is again select on here and then load it. It's going to be very, very simple macro. That's the last one for documents. How do we do that? Focus on with sheet 1 again. With sheet 1. If now in this case I want to make sure that B7 is not empty. What is that? If we right click here, assign, go into the format control, we see it's located on B7. That's the one we're going to focus on. So of course 1 is going to be the first document. So B7, we want to make sure that there's a value there, of course, obviously. If dot range B7, I don't know why it would be empty, but just in case these dot value equals empty, then message box please select on a document. Okay, exit sub, nothing we can do if it's not a value. Okay, so now that we have it, we know that our doc row is going to be basically equal to whatever's in B7 plus 3 because it starts on row 4 equals B7 plus 3. That's going to get us our document row, but what about the column? Again, we just need to run the same loop but reverse it. So let's copy all of this because we're going to use the same and then just paste it down here and then reverse it. Remember, now we're putting in whatever's in sheet 1, bringing it from sheet 4. So we need to reverse it basically. That's all we're doing. Good. B6 equals false. That's it. That's it for document load. Again, all I need to do again is click on here, right click, assign the macro, document load here. Click OK. Now when I click on here, it's going to load the document. All right, great. One more left to do, then I'm going to let you go today. Reminders and alerts. I want to be able to add reminders and alerts. You can pretty much figure out the code right now because it's very similar. That's the idea. That repetition helps you learn. It's very similar, but that's the way I learned, and hopefully that will help you learn as well. Sometimes it's so much the same, you learn it, it becomes in the back of your head. You could just do it blindfolded very soon. The reminder column is long, reminder row is long. So what we want to do is a new reminder here. Pretty simple. Again, sheet 1, just clearing out the code. Sheet 1 dot range. I want to clear out all the details on this. AR, in this case, we're focused on AR4, and then also AT4. We want that. Also AR6, and then AT6. Those are the times. And then AR8 all the way through AT13. That is going to be our code. Dot clear contents. And also I want to set the new, remember our reminders are down here, our details are here. New reminders, this is going to go to true. So B16 we do want to set to true. Sheet 1 dot range B16 dot value equals true. Set that to true. Okay, that's it. That's all we have to do to set to clear contents. Let's run that code. Perfect. Right click here and here, and then just assign the macro. That's going to be called reminders, new reminders, all the way down here, new. Okay, we just ran it. They're working fine. Now what we want to do is add in a new reminder. Let's say meeting with Fred, and we'll call the contact. It's going to be Fred, of course, and we'll give it a date. You know, I put a pop-up calendar here that's the formatted the wrong, but that's okay. We'll just give it the normal font. It's not a link, so let's drop it down here, and it's not left justified. Okay, so the time, we'll give it a time, 8 o'clock a.m. Okay, that's good. Make sure that format's right, and then test details. Okay, so that's it. So now let's run the macro to save it. So we can do that just with a little bit of code. So with sheet 1, again, we want to make sure that they have at least a name on that, right? I want to make sure AR4 at least contains a name. If they haven't, we should prompt that data. So if dot range AR4 dot value equals empty, then you can pretty much figure it out. Message box, please enter, spell that right, please enter a reminder name. Okay, exits. That way we at least have that required. Assuming that they have, we can now move on. So what I want to do again, simply note if this is an existing reminder or a new reminder. And B16 is going to tell us that, or B17 if there's a row here. Either one would work. So let's use B18. That's the selected row. B18 is the one where we're matching. So B18 is the one I want. If B18 is empty, we know it's brand new. So if dot range B18 dot value equals empty, then new reminder. Else existing. And if. Okay, so now we can write our code. So we know if it's new, we just need to assign it a new row. Reminders are located, of course, on sheet 5. So we'll call this reminder row equals, and then we're going to make this sheet 5 plus 1. We want the first available row, and we're going to call this sheet 5 dot. Okay, so now we know the first row, but what if it's existing? Well, if it's existing, we know that the row is located in B18. So we can copy this and then just put that right down here. The reminder row is equal to B18. That's the row of existing. Everything else is going to be the same regardless if it's new or existing. And so we can write. So again, we're going to do, in reminders, we have how many? We're using data gapping. In this case, we have 5 columns, so we're going to loop 1 through 5. So how do we do that? For reminder column equals 1 to 5. Next reminder column. Okay, so how do we do this? Again, same thing. Sheet 5, we're focused on that. Dot cells, reminder row, comma, reminder column, dot value equals dot range, focused on sheet 1, but where is it located? Those ranges are located in sheet 5. Dot cells, row 1, reminder column. See, it's so easy now that you've seen it so many times, you're really going to get good at this. That's it. So that's where we're at. That's all we need to do for adding in and saving it. Now all we need to do is, what I want to do is I also want to add this text. I want to know the date, the time, and I want to add in the reminder. I want to put it all in a text. So what I do is I'm going to add a formula, right? But I want to put that formula up here. So this formula, but when it's copied down, it's going to put a nice little summary on this. And it's that summary that I want to load up. So it's that summary that I created that named range on called reminder summary. So I also want to take this formula that I've created here. Basically, it's going to be just combine. It's going to combine, in this case, it's going to combine A4. We can use different on, and then I'm going to add the date. I'm going to format the date using text. Then I'm going to format the time using this time format. And it's going to combine, and it's going to look there. If we don't want to add, we could probably remove that first hour. We don't need 2 hours, but it depends on your format. So now all I need to do is inside the code is just basically copy this and paste down the formulas. We don't need that colon in there. That's fine. Let's get rid of that colon. That's unnecessary. Just the space. Okay, so basically when I copy down that formula, it doesn't make any sense here, but as soon as data is added, that's going to give us a nice summary. Call Fred on at 8 a.m. So it looks good. Actually, we may want to add the AM or PM here. So AM, PM. That's kind of nice, but it depends on your time format. You can add whatever you like. Okay, so now copying it down, you see that we've added the PM. That's a little more important. Okay, so we've got that. So how do we do that? All I'm going to do is take this, copy F2, and paste it in whatever row we're on. So we do that with just one line of code. So sheet 5 dot range F2. In this case, what I want to do is I want to copy that. Dot copy. And what is the destination? The destination is sheet 5 dot range. In this case, F and the reminder row. And the reminder row. That's it. Last thing I want to do is set, of course, back in our sheet here. I want to set to make sure it's no longer a new reminder. I want to set B16 to false to make sure that it's not currently. Dot range B16 dot value equals false. Okay, great. So now it's no longer a brand new. So that's it. That's all we have to do. Again, saving our code. And we're going to actually right click here again, right click here, assigning it to the macro. Reminder save, that's what we're going to focus on. Reminder save. Okay, so let's save that reminder. Perfect, it got added here. So now you say meeting with Fred. Last thing I want to do is load that. When I select here, I want to load that just as we did with the others. That's the one, that's the last macro we are going to write. So let's write that right now with sheet 1. I hope you like this extended training, a little bit extended, almost an hour and a half recording. Let's see how, when after editing, if I can get rid of all my mess ups, it might reduce. Dot range, we're focused on B17. We want to make sure that B17, why B17? Because that is the number that we've assigned to this. Formatting the control, you see it's B17. That is going to tell us what number. We need to make sure B17 has a value. So if B17, that value is equal to empty, you need to let the user know. Then message box, please select a reminder. Exit sub. Okay, so now you can pretty much figure it out. You can guess at this point, we've done it so many times, exactly what we're going to do. First thing I want to do is clear out all the existing. We've already run that code here, so we can just copy it and then paste it down here. And then also I want to do, it's no longer new once we've loaded it, so we can copy that and place it down here. And again, all we need to do is reverse we know our row, we know our column. Where is it going to be? Our reminder row is going to be in B17. So let's set that up. Reminder row will copy, our reminder row is in this case B17. So let's copy that down here. I'm going to put that down here, change that to 17, but then again, not 17, but it's going to be plus 3, right? Because 17 is going to be 1 if we select the first one. We want row 4. Now all we need to do is run our loop again. We can copy the loop from right here, but then we're going to reverse it because that loop is for saving. Right? So all we have to do is focus on sheet 1 here. Bring that over here. Bring the equals over to the middle where it belongs, and then we're good to go. Okay, again, saving our code. Always good to save before we run, especially when we're using clear contents in case you mess up. Again, all I want to do is load it. So now what I'm going to do is assign the macro to this. Assign the macro, reminder, go down here, load, click OK. So now when I select on here, it's going to load it. Very nice. Click on the home. Now we've got it. Now we've got contacts. Now we've got email management. Now we've got documents. And now we've got reminders. Great. I'm really glad I got to show this to you. It's been a really fantastic training. I appreciate it. If you do appreciate this training, I would love if you can grab the 150 workbook pack. It's just $56. That's only 37 cents per application. Those are amazing templates. I'd love to see how you can design your own and what you can. Of course, if you have any questions, throw them in our Excel for Freelancers group. We're always there. 30,000 plus members there to help you. Would be great. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.